You know that feeling when the ground suddenly starts to shake? It's just pure chaos. But what's amazing is how science can take that chaos and turn it into something we can actually understand. So today, we're going to break down exactly how we measure the mind-blown power of an earthquake. Okay, so an earthquake hits. It's all over the news. Maybe you even feel it yourself. You check in with your family, your friends, to make sure they're okay. But right after, "Are you okay?" what's that one question everyone asks? Exactly. How big was it? But here's the thing, and this is where it gets really interesting. That one simple question, it's actually two completely different questions rolled into one. See, you're asking about the raw power the earthquake unleashed at its source, but you're also asking how intense the shaking was right where you are. And trust me, those are not the same thing at all. So let's get this straight right from the start. This idea of power versus shaking is the most important piece of the puzzle. If you get this, everything else we're going to talk about will just click into place. Okay, so on one hand, you've got magnitude. Think of this as the earthquake's fingerprint. It's a single, fixed number that represents the total energy released right at the source. It doesn't change no matter where you are. Then, on the other hand, you have intensity. This is all about what you actually felt. It describes the shaking at your specific location, and yeah, it totally changes depending on how close you are to the action. Right, so where do these numbers even come from? Well, it all starts with listening, but not with our ears. We use these incredibly sensitive instruments that are basically like giant ears pressed right up against the earth, and they can pick up tiny vibrations that we would never, ever feel. And the main tool for the job is the seismograph. The idea behind it is actually pretty simple and kind of brilliant. Just imagine you're holding a pen perfectly still, but someone is shaking the piece of paper under it. The pen itself wants to stay put, right? That's inertia. And as it stays still, it draws a wavy line on the moving paper, recording its motion. A seismograph is basically that, but instead of a pen, it's a heavy weight, and instead of a piece of paper, it's the entire planet. And when I say these things are sensitive, I mean, it's almost hard to believe. Modern seismographs can detect ground movements smaller than a single nanometer. That is 1/1000th of a meter. To give you some perspective, that's sensitive enough to feel ocean waves crashing on a coast hundreds of miles away. They can even detect the Earth itself slightly bulging from the pull of the moon's gravity. That's just wild. Okay, so you've got this squiggly line from the seismograph. Now what? You need a way to translate that squiggle into something meaningful. You need a language, a scale. And that was the big challenge. How do you slap a single number on an event with that much raw power? Back in 1935, a guy named Charles Richter came up with the first real attempt, the Richter scale. And it was totally revolutionary for its time. But, as our instruments got better and we started recording even bigger quakes, we found its limits. Science always moves forward, right? So in 1979, the moment magnitude scale was born. This was the new and improved version, built to accurately measure the true energy of even the most massive earthquakes imaginable. Okay, pay attention, because this is the part almost everyone gets wrong. A magnitude 7 is not just a little bit bigger than a magnitude 6. It's not like going from 6 to 7 on a ruler. Because these scales are logarithmic, that 1-point jump is actually a colossal leap in power. This chart really puts it in perspective. For every single whole number you go up on the scale, say from a 5 to a 6, the energy released jumps by about 32 times. So when you go from a 5 to a 7, that's not 32 plus 32, it's 32 times 32. We're talking about roughly 1,000 times more energy. It's just a whole different beast. And let's just blow our minds for a second. Let's compare a pretty common magnitude 5 quake with a monster, a magnitude 9. The difference in energy isn't a few times bigger. It's not even 1,000 times bigger. It is 1,000,000 times greater. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around that difference in scale. And this is why we had to move on from the original Richter scale. It basically maxed out around a magnitude 6.5. The best way to think about it is like trying to weigh a truck on a bathroom scale. At a certain point, it just says error. It can't measure that high. The moment magnitude scale, or MW, fixed that. It doesn't measure the shaking, it measures the total energy released, the size of the fault that slipped and how much it slipped. It never maxes out, so it gives us the real story, and that's the number you hear on the news today. All right, so we've got magnitude covered. That's the big single number for the earthquake's power. But remember, that was only half the story. What about the other part of the question? What about what it actually felt like for people on the ground? For that, we have a totally different system, the Modified Mercalli Intensity Scale, or MMI. Now, this has nothing to do with seismographs. It's all about human observation. It's a ranking from 1 to 12, and it describes what people actually saw, what they felt, and what happened to the stuff around them. And this is what makes it so relatable. You know, an MMI of 5 is when things get noticeable. Pictures on the wall start to swing, maybe some small objects fall over. You jump up to a 7, and now it's actually hard to stay on your feet, and buildings start to show damage. And if you get to a 10, we're talking extreme. Most buildings are destroyed, the ground itself can crack open. And what's really cool is how they get this data. The U.S. Geological Survey has a program called Did You Feel It, where anyone can go online and report their experience. It's like crowdsourcing the earthquake's impact in real time. So we can measure the raw power with magnitude, and we can map out the real-world experience with intensity. That's all great science, but what's it for? Well, this is where it gets really important. The whole point of all this measurement is to turn data into action. Action that literally saves lives. And that brings us to the holy grail, doesn't it? The one question that matters most when the ground starts to move: can we get a warning, even just a few seconds, before the worst of the shaking hits? And incredibly, the answer is yes. It's all because of a high-speed race happening under our feet. See, an earthquake sends out different types of waves. First, you get the P waves. They're super fast, but they don't do much damage. A dense network of sensors can detect these P waves the instant they arrive. Those sensors immediately blast out a warning at the speed of light. And that warning can beat the next set of waves, the slower but way more destructive S waves, giving people a precious few seconds to drop, cover, and hold on. That's exactly how systems like ShakeAlert work. And the life-saving potential doesn't stop there. Think about the chaos right after a big one hits. The biggest problem for first responders is simple. Where is the damage the worst? Where do we need to go right now? This is where that real-time data flow is a total game changer, letting them make decisions in minutes that used to take hours or even days. And they have two key tools to do it. First is the Shake Map. It's basically a live map that shows exactly where the ground shook the hardest, using all that intensity data we talked about. It tells responders, go here, this is the hot zone. Then there's PAGER. This system takes the shake map and lays it over population maps and building types to give a rapid estimate of how many people might be affected and how bad the economic damage could be. It tells them what to expect when they get there. And really, this quote says it all, doesn't it? The whole mission is to direct resources to the hardest hit areas within minutes. Every piece of this science, from the first seismograph squiggle to the complex maps, it all funnels down to one goal: getting help to the people who need it faster than ever before. So think about where we started. We took that one simple question, how big was it, and unpacked it into this incredible global system that can measure an earthquake's raw power, map out exactly how it felt, and even give us a heads up before the shaking starts. We've gotten really, really good at understanding the what and the where of an earthquake's impact, which leaves us with the next great frontier, the biggest question of all. Can we ever predict the earthquake itself? Can we ever master the when?